Dot Sports, a place where a long-haired Yahoo likes to have a yarn about sports. Before we jump into everything as well, make sure you do like and subscribe. Trying to crack 500 by the end of the season. It's going to be a little bit tricky, but with all the support, I'm sure we can get there. Make sure you give all the socials a follow as well. I've linked all of that in the bio. Helps out a whole lot growing Dot Sports, so appreciate if you jump on there, TikTok, Instagram, wherever else, all in the bio, like I was saying. So Jerome Hughes, he is my player of the week. He's been an absolute weapon. I was so close to going with Gus Crichton, who scored a hat-trick today and had an absolute worldie. But Hughes, he has just been so good, honestly. He had one try, 189 run meters, with about 30 of those with his arse out. Two try assists, 314 kick meters as well. He absolutely put it on the other night against the Dolphins. So surely he's going to snag the Dally M medal this year. You could just hand it to him now, honestly. He's been that good this season. I think probably some of the only players that might be up there as well could potentially be Teddy. He could be in the conversation. I think Nathan, he might have been making a bit of a run for it, but obviously now put a line through him. Yeah, not really possible being out with the injury. So, yeah, that's the player of the week. Jerome Hughes is an absolute gun. Just a quick recap of round 25. So we went 6 for 8 last week, so not too bad at all. Just a little recap, like I was saying, to Tigers, they pulled a sneaky little win over Manly. They won 34-26. A lot of controversy in this game, obviously, with the refs and the send-offs. Not really going to jump into that too deeply, to be honest. Everyone's kind of covered that, but Tommy Bra, he tried his best to carry that team, snagging a hat-trick. Doggies, they broke hearts for SJ fans. They won 34-18. Again, some very sus calls in that game. Broncos, they managed to get it done 30-24 after a super worrying start against the Eels. Raiders, they upset Penrith 22-18. Storm, they absolutely fisted the Dolphins 48-6. Knights, they got it done 38-16. Roosters, they stomped out the Titans 48-22 with Gussie Crichton having an absolute day out. And the Sharks, they beat the Dragons on their off week. They beat them 38-10. So 6 for 8. The only two we got wrong there. So what did I get wrong? Oh, yeah, Manly, obviously, they got beaten, and then Penrith as well. So that was round 25. Now, Spoon Bowl, it is locked in. We're going to get Tigers versus Eels in the last round of the comp, fighting for the wooden spoon. And honestly, I'm so pumped about it. It's almost like we're getting two grand finals. It is going to be so good. I'm going for Tigers in that one. They got the bye this week. There is a chance that the Tigers finally are going to be passing that wooden spoon on to somebody else. Yeah, all the stars have aligned for this one, and I think the Tigers are going to be going big for it as well. Because they've got the wooden spoon the last 2, 3 seasons. I think 2 seasons definitely. So they don't want that again, especially when they're in a big rebuild phase at the moment. They're going to be doing everything they can do to not get the wooden spoon at this stage. And I think they're going to go the big lift, honestly. And it's just laughable for the Eels, considering, as everyone's been talking about, the roster that they have, the talent that they have. Sure, they've had some major injuries and Mitch Moses, things like that, but to be where they are now is just insane, honestly. So they come up against the Dragons this week. Don't think they're going to be winning that one. So, yeah, Spoon Bowl. It is honestly going to be sick. I think it's on a Friday night at the 6 p.m. slot. So, yeah, definitely lock me in for that one. It's going to be a great time, honestly. It has honestly got me hyped up like it's another grand final. Yeah, it's going to be a great time. Sua Fa'alogo, his try on the weekend. That was extremely sus call from the bunker and the refs, honestly. It looked on the dead ball line for all money. It didn't matter what speed. Like, as soon as he went in for it, I was like, oh, yeah, cool. 20-minute restart. That's all done. And then they've set it up as a try, and I'm like, what in the world? And yeah, at full pace, you can see, at least from these eyes of mine, that was on the dead ball line. You slow it down, it's even more obvious. The stills just look like he put his hand down when a part of the ball was on the line. It honestly had me questioning my knowledge of the NRL rules and how that all worked. But they just called it like straight away. So, yes, could they potentially have other angles that we can't see? Absolutely. But I don't know why they wouldn't show those as well, just to kind of make it very clear cut. Obviously wasn't one of the worst calls over the whole weekend, but even then it was, yeah, very, very sus, and yeah, just a random pick from the bunker there as well. So hopefully we don't have a whole heap of those kind of calls coming into the finals in particular. Honestly, at the moment it doesn't really matter a whole lot, but coming into those big games, especially if they're kind of do or die moments for a team in a game, yeah, that could have a massive effect on the competition, especially if you're getting right down to the prelims and obviously the grand final as well. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, very, very weird decision, that one. Stephen Crichton, he exploded Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's head as well with the shoulder on the weekend. That was a very weird game when it comes to the reffing as well. Poor Roger, he was doing the chicken dance as well, trying to play the ball. I didn't notice it originally when it happened. I just saw him dancing when he tried to play the ball, which I was like, Jesus, what's happened there? You didn't catch it at full speed, honestly. It didn't even look that bad. You obviously wasn't trying to collect Roger with the shoulder as well. I'd say somewhat fell into it. Stephen Crichton is quite a tall guy. But yeah, like I said, it wasn't until I saw Roger's reaction and the replay where you're like, oh, that actually sconed him right in the head. And yeah, with direct contact to the head, it should have been 10 in the bin. That's the letter of the law, even if it is an accident. So I especially feel for Roger as well. He was obviously out of that game. They went down, with a massive player out, and Crichton stayed out there. So yeah, bit of a stitch up with that one. Out with the category one, so he's not going to be playing in this last game for the Warriors either. But yeah, bit of a shocking call. Once again, not Crichton's fault. It's the refereeing decision to keep him out there and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely a bit of a sus one. He got a one match ban as well. So yeah, no fault for Crichton. Bit of a stitch up. They really need to find consistency there mostly. That brings us into round 26 tips and predictions. So, kicking off on the Thursday night, we got Cowboys versus the Storm. I'm going to go with Cowboys 1 to 12 in this one. I honestly, though, don't have the most confidence with them. Cowboys, they just so inconsistent. They can be so hard to pick. Games, especially at home where it's meant to be this massive advantage, they just seem to fall on their face. One week they flog a team, the next week they get absolutely touched up. But yeah, we'll see. Bellyache, he's resting 11 players. That's, news that everyone knows, obviously, at this stage. So that still scares me though. They're sending up what, like a C team essentially, pretty much a reserve team, but they could honestly still put it on against the Cowboys. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. Obviously, they've locked in the minor premiership at this time. They're looking forward to the finals. There's this weird blow up as well that's been happening about them resting players, that it's unfair for people going to watch and all this, and it's like, I get that part of it. Obviously, you want to go see your best players. You want to see, the real stars of the game. To be fair as well, they are still sending some serious players. What Paps is going, Munster's going. Obviously he's only kind of making his way now, but Sua Fa'alogo, he's going as well. Who's super exciting to watch. Don't get me wrong, not the full team, but at the end of the day, they are pushing to win a grand final at the moment. They don't need to win games. These last two games are throwaway. I honestly really hope that they just fly this exact team straight from far north Queensland into Brisbane. I don't think they'll go. It'd be surprising if they went all the way home and just play with that team. For the love of God, play with them. Do not run out some ridiculous team in the last round against Brisbane. If anything, take out some more players. Pull Paps out. You don't need him getting injured. Munster, all those guys, just play with your resis. Happy days. Some of the positioning as well. It's like Grant Anderson's in halfback and all this. It's like Bellyache's put up fucking players on a dartboard and just throw on those for positions. It's, yeah, a bit of an odd team put together, but yeah, Cowboys should win this, surely. They got their entire team out there. They're locked in for the finals. They've beaten Storm the last couple of times I've played them, especially up north. So yeah, they should be getting it done, and I'm going to go with Kyle Felt to score, considering he's got a handful of games left with the Cowboys. Next game, Doggies versus Manly. I'm going to go Dogs 1 to 12. They just don't miss at home. Another home game for them. I'm pretty sure they're undefeated, aren't they? And Manly, they had a shocker last week. They absolutely shit the bed, and they're really making a habit of it at the moment. Once again, both of these teams they're locked in for the finals. So it's not going to be the end of the world either way this falls. But the Doggies, they are just becoming a real threat to this whole competition at this stage. I don't see Manly unless like everything aligns making it all the way. They're just once again a bit too inconsistent. They've got a lot of strike across the park, big forward pack, elite backline. Obviously, Tommy Turbo, he's firing at the moment. Like he really tried to will that game into their favour last week, but the whole thing needs to come together, and that's when things are really clicking. I think for the Doggies overall, and it's just insane to see where they've come from and the absolute support that they're getting from their fans at this stage. After so much loyalty, so much disappointment over the last few seasons, it's all just coming together. And then you got all the bandwagon fans on that as well. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Warriors had it last year. Doggies this year will probably have some team next year, to be honest. But that has got to be firing them up big time as well, particularly as well for these home games. They're just going to be absolutely on. So, yeah, no, I think they're going to go well. Brighton obviously is a big loss for them. Only the one game. It's not going to ruin them at all. Little shuffle around in positions. Joel Skelton, though, I think he is going to fold somebody. He's going to rattle some ribs, and I reckon he's going to cross for a try as well. So that's who I'm going to be putting in. Next game, Penrith versus the Rabbitohs. Penrith, they just don't lose two in a row. It's just not possible. 13 plus. They're going to be looking to have a massive bounce back after a disappointing loss last week against the Raiders. Yeah, I think they're going to be putting it on. Obviously, still no Nathan at this stage. But yeah, Rabbitohs, they haven't been doing too much this season at all. They're pretty much just waiting for it to be over. They want their Bali trip sorted. That way, Wayne Bennett can come in and they can be firing at the start of next year. Get a big preseason and hopefully make a bit of a push. I'm expecting massive changes for them. But 2024 is not that time, so they just need to hang on, play out these last couple rounds, and yeah, so be it. Penrith obviously going to be making a big push. Hopefully, they've dropped all the way down the fourth, which I didn't really expect to see at all, particularly with Sharks being ahead of them. But I think they've had very different draws as well. But they're going to be pushing a little bit higher, I think, as well, try to snag these last two games and be all sorted for the finals. So yeah, I think they're going to be fine. They've done it a million times. They're the most experienced team in the finals, obviously, for the last 4 seasons. So I don't think anything's going to rattle them over the next few weeks, that's for sure, unless they had some sort of significant injury. But at the same time, I think if they start getting a massive lead as well, you'll start seeing coaches pulling off, and that goes for all teams, pulling off their big stars as well. Just, rest the legs, make sure they don't get hurt. Paul Alamotti, he's back into the squad this week, and I think he's going to score a try any time. Eels versus the Dragons. Dragons, it's their week to win. They go win loss, have done since what, round 8 or 9. Lost last week, so you land or win. It's just as simple as that with the Dragons, and I think they're going to go 1-12. But I would really like the Eels to win this one. At the moment, the last spot in the top 8 is where the Dragons are in 8th at the moment. About 5 teams fighting for it at the moment, and I need the Broncos to take that spot, not the Dragons. So yeah, if Eels can turn up something chronic, that would be great. If they could show up like they did in the last few weeks, particularly against Penrith, and actually win it, that would be amazing. We really need it. And they're fighting for a wooden spoon. So I think they ultimately both have a lot to play for in this game. So, you want the Dragons, they're clawing their way, trying to lock in that top 8 spot. They need the win, obviously. And Eels are facing the Tigers in the Spoon Bowl. So they cannot be dropping further behind with the Tigers having a bye this week. It'll be interesting. So, as long as, well, obviously they haven't gone and rested their team to go up against the Tigers next week, so they're in for a shot. They're in for a shot, but Dragons, yeah, they're going to be tough to beat as well. Flano's just going to have them firing. So, I'm going to go with Zach Lomax to score. He's been an absolute weapon this entire season. Oh, he's getting a preview, though, to what he's in for next year. I feel bad for the fella going there. Eels are just in shambles. Queensland Derby, Dolphins versus Broncos up next. It is do or die for both of these teams. I'm obviously going to be back on my boys Broncos to win 1-12. And look, we're just Dolphins dads. It's as simple as that. Haven't lost to them yet. Don't plan to this time. Am a little bit scared that the Dolphins got fisted by Storm last week, and Uncle Wayne's going to have them firing up in, I think, their last home game. Yeah, honestly, Dolphins, they need their own ground. It's a bit laughable that they call Suncorp home. I don't see why they don't just go play up in Redcliffe there. Perfect for them. There's plenty of smaller grounds around the place. Go up there, you're going to have better support, honestly. But both of these teams, they take it personally, and I think Broncos in particular take it personally and really get up for this game as well at home. Yeah, they're going to need their big game players to step up, though, the Broncos. They've got a few guys in there that can really turn the tables when they're on. Your Katoni Staggs, obviously Reno, Paddy. If Payne Haas is playing, that's going to be massive. Cobbo being back in there, I love as well. I don't know, I'm kind of flip-flopping on it where, like, I think he's going to be better. He's elite in the centres, but at the same time, I think his carries and his strike, from the wing position's better than Dean Mariner, but Dean might not be the better defender. It's just a little bit weird with that one. But either way, happy for him to be back in the team. Big Ben Takura, he is back as well. He's only played the one game this year, and that was the close one against the Storm where he crashed over real late and gave us a shot in that game. He's honestly just a cheat code closer line. I can see Moser having a little scoot out of dummy half and offloading for Big Ben to crash over. Honestly, have fun stopping all 205 centimeters and 122 kg of that man. glad to see him in there. He's going to go well. Tristan Sailor, redemption arc continues as well. I said last week, I really think we're going to see some big stuff from him, and he pulled it out last week. I think a lot of that, obviously, he plays a lot on confidence. Has not had the best season. I'm sure he'd be the first to admit that as well. It's just one of those things, had a very unlucky string of games where things were just not going their way. And that's not even just for Tristan, it was kind of the whole team. Many people have spoken about it about Broncos last year. We got the right bounce of the ball all of last year, just everything kind of, all those 50-50s went our way. And this season, there's a lot of contributing factors to it, but, I guess luck is part of that sometimes. And, some shit just doesn't go your way, and it's been a bit like that. But either way, when he's on, he can really turn a game on his head. I forgot how fast he is as well. He took off last week and just fucking gassed it down the right side of the field and just went the whole way to score. So, yeah, I think he can really turn up. I think he's publicly gone out and said, like, we'd love to be able to get in for the boys, try to get into the finals. I think they're all going to be making a massive push. Obviously, he's moving on next season, but, I feel like he personally owes a lot to the club. I hope he feels that way anyway. Obviously, need to chat to him to really find out, but I think he's going to put in a big shift. I think, again, a guy like Reno being around is going to help him keep his head cool. If something happens, all good, let's make up for it and keep going instead of it kind of compounding and getting worse. So, yeah, I think we're going to be sweet. I really want to see Tony Staggs turn up big time in this one as well. Put on a bit of a performance like he did, like he has been in the last few weeks, but turn up big time like he did against the Cowboys, run over someone, and he's going to be my anytime try scorer for this one. Next up, Sharks versus Warriors. I'm going to go Sharks 1 to 12. It is at Shark Park, but I do want the Warriors to win this one. Shawnee Johnson's last ever game, and poetically at Shark Park, his former club as well. So I hope they put on a massive going away for him. I'm sure they'll have a big turnout for that as well. So same as last week, I would really like to see the fairy tale ending there with them getting the W and him scoring a try. I think a lot of this though depends on the Sharks that we're going to get. The Warriors aren't completely written out of this one at all. You're either going to get the Sharks that played against the Knights that are struggle street, or you're going to get the Sharks that are just pumping teams. Like it's kind of 50-50, and we're not going to know until the game starts what we're going to get as well. The Warriors, no doubt, though, surely going to be putting a big lift for their players. There's a few of them with their last games with the club. So Adam Fanua Blake, Shawnee Johnson, obviously, Jazz Tavanga, a few of the others, I think, as well, that could potentially be leaving. So, yeah, it's going to be massive. Nico Hines, he's been named in the reserve, so he's possible. Honestly, I don't. They could just rest him. They're locked in for the finals. Probably not much point bringing him back unless they desperately needed to. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. This game, I'm going to go with Shawnee Johnson to score anytime. Hope he steps like six blokes, dives over, slots it. Happy days. Knights versus Titans. I'm going to go with the Titans. I'm going to go Titans 1 to 12. I feel like they could ruin the Knights' day. They have a ridiculous amount of strike, honestly. Yeah, they ended up getting smoked by the Roosters, but they do have that lethal attack. They still put on a decent amount of points against the Roosters. Knights, they've just been average at best this season. They're going to be fighting for a top spot as well. I don't think they've got it in them personally. They've just been all over the place. Their roster's changing all the time. The halves are changing all the time. Titans, yeah, they've had a couple bad losses recently, but they've been clicking a lot more. I'm really excited to see them next year, honestly. It would have been really interesting to see what they would have been like if Big Tino had been in there for the whole year as well. Obviously, he's not as one player just going to change everything, and they still might not have made the eight, but I think they would have had a better shot because I really feel like he's the heart and soul of that team. So keen to see him come back in next year. But Knights, they do have a big in with Bradman Best coming back, which is huge, but I do wonder where he's going to be at, especially if it is stuff to do with like hammies. He's probably not going to be at 100% at this stage. Who knows if they get up, might get rested as well. So we'll see how that goes. Titans though, their scoring machine, Cam Pereira, he's going to cross any time for sure. I think he's got something like 23 tries at the moment. He's leading by a handful. So yeah, he's absolutely killing it this season. Last game, we've got Roosters versus the Raiders. I'm going the Chookies 13 plus. Again, they just like to bully teams, and they are going to pump the Raiders. They're outside of the top eight, so therefore they're just going to get smashed. Cheese and Watson, they come back in as well. That just bolsters that team even more. Watson in particular, I think he's named 14, but he's an elite utility. Put him anywhere, he's just going to kill it. I really only see probably three teams giving the Roosters trouble at this point, and Raiders definitely aren't one of them. You've got the two obvious ones. You've got your Storm and you've got your Penrith Panthers that have given them some serious head noise for the last couple of seasons. I would honestly put Doggies up there as well. I think Doggies could potentially they could get it done over the Roosters. They're the type of team, they've got the players that could really, really challenge them. But yeah, no, I think they're going to be sweet. Yeah, I see a lot of points in this one, and I'm going to whip home Gus Crichton to back up from last week with his Hattie and cross again for a try anytime this week. So that is the tips and predictions for this week. So that jumps into my tip of the week is a big one. I must be due to nail one of these as well. 3 weeks on the trot, I'm putting in Tommy Brad across any time for 4 rugby league points. Tommy, he just don't miss. Take it back to halfway. I'm going to go with Stags anytime in the battle for Brisbane. He takes these ones personally, and I see a huge game coming from Toby Stags. He'll go over any time. Last ever game for Sean Johnson. Just let him through at this stage. Hopefully see him step through about 5 blokes to cross the line. And lastly, big Gussie Crichton. Name me a better back row in the comp this season. He's going to back up and get another meat pie. If you wrangle all those together, you're going to get something like 34.63. So get around it. Anyway, guys, have a good one. Catch you next week for the last round of the year. Like I said, make sure in the comments let us know who's going to be winning. Have a good one.